It is not easy putting yourself out there and making new friends, but one woman from Richmond Hill went on a mission to make more than 50 of them in a year. Miriam Amdur started her blog, 52 Friends, as a way to support herself through a rough patch in life. She gained some valuable lessons through the experience, and she joins me this morning in studio to tell us all about it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Miriam, this is an incredible journey that you have gone on. What inspired you to start this process?
So I was experiencing a period of loneliness. I think for me, it was because I was living in between Toronto and Miami. So I think for many of us, when we live in between two cities, I didn't know this, but you experience this kind of loneliness because you don't really have a life here or there. Also, obviously, the pandemic, which all of us experienced, that was a really collective experience that we all went through. And then for me, it's also my age. So I'm in my mid-20s, and I think that's a period of time when we move from our childhood friends to our adult friends. And that transition can kind of be sad in some ways, because we're used to spending so much time with friends and having them as a close part of our lives, and having to transition can be difficult, I think.
Yeah, I think when you're in school, you kind of take for granted that all of these people who are in your community of shared interests, they're right there with you. You become an adult and you start working, and whether you're working remotely or in a community, you might be working with people who have nothing in common with you.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so how did you go out and meet all of these people?
So when I started, I was in Miami. I was using Bumble BFF a lot, which is the friend side of Bumble.
Okay.
So that was really useful. I had never used it before, but it was very helpful, and I made a lot of really great friends through that. When I came back to Toronto, I started to reconnect with people from high school that I had lost touch with, or even old teachers from university, old friends from childhood, which was really nice. I think we can't make an old friend, so it's really nice to be able to reconnect with someone from our past and reminisce on our history and talk about the things that we went through. And then finally it was friends of friends. So if I would say acquaintances, so I guess someone that I'd met through a friend, I'd ask them to connect me. It wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be, because I think once you start meeting one person, you kind of meet the next.
Well, I think it's a skill set, right?
Yeah, it's a skill set, exactly.
You practice with one person. By the time it's person number 52, you're like, I know how to make a friend. I got this.
Exactly, yeah.
So I want to hear about these friends. Tell me about a few.
So he's actually become one of my good friends, is my history teacher from high school, Mr. Shaw.
Really?
So he's 40 years older than me. But we met, I was in his class for the first time when I was 15, so it's been about 10 years. And we've had really great conversations. We've talked about relationships, we've talked about comedy and religion. He was history and philosophy, so it was it's nice to philosophize with him and be able to sit at cafes and just kind of feel like two Parisians in the 60s.
Oh my
so
gosh.
That's what our relationship is like. Another good friend of mine is Violet. So we met when we shared a hotel room for a wedding that we both went to. And that was actually our first time meeting at the wedding, but we had a really great time on our trip, and we've seen each other a couple times since then. We're actually going to a baseball game on Sunday. So,
oh my gosh, fun.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun together since then.
So I imagine, you know a lot about these people, but I imagine through this process, you've also learned a ton about yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what are some of the big takeaways that you've experienced for your own growth as you've made all of these new friends?
I think, funny enough, one of the most important relationships we have is the one we have with ourselves. So yes, it's important to have friends, and friends really fulfill our lives, but our best friend, I think, should be ourselves, because we're the only person that really knows what we want, how to make ourselves feel happy. The best friend we can have is ourselves, I think.
Yeah.
And if we need to know how to spend our time alone. So if we think that every time that we're alone, we're lonely, that's also not right. We need to know how to enjoy our time alone. But at the same time, part of having a good relationship with ourselves means knowing how to pick the right people for us. So knowing how to pick people who value us, who see the best in us, who bring out the best in us. Otherwise, we're kind of doing a disservice to ourselves.
Well, I was going to ask about that. 52 friends in a year, they can't all be winners. So did you go through the list and realize oh, hey, I thought you were great, but maybe not the best fit for me going forward?
I think I met a lot of really great people. But then it was kind of narrowing down who's good for me, who brings out the best in me, who do I feel the most energized with after I meet them, who do I want to see next, who reciprocates, so who invites me to things. So obviously it's really nice to be able to meet people, but friendship is a two-way street, so it has to go both ways, and it's being able to identify who you feel that reciprocity with.
Miriam, what an incredible experience you've been on, and how cool that you shared it with everyone. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.